I did a study on the etymology of the word dwarf too. It's super interesting because I like Star Trek.
Yep.
I mean, I don't watch it a lot these days, but when I was younger, I watched it all the time. And I started seeing correlations with like the different alien species that they have on there versus our actual history and our fantasy and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I
yeah.
mean, like Spock, he's obviously an elf. like,
Yep, clearly.
like they're all pretty much elves, and then Romulans are like Mexican elves. But then they have the other race. Um, what do they call them? The Klingons. The
Yeah.
Klingons. I actually related the Klingons to the dwarves, the dwarf species. And you know what else is interesting too? I found all sorts of references to. I just recently finished reading the Kolbrin Bible. Have you heard of
Yep.
that one?
I've heard of it. I haven't seen your show. I saw you did a
Yeah.
show on
So
it. Yeah.
there's dwarf references all throughout the Kolbrin Bible too.
Are you
Like
serious?
it talks specifically about the dwarven race. Like as a matter of fact, you know what I mean? It's not once upon a time. It's like also, let me tell you about the dwarfs. And it actually goes on talking about various species, but the dwarves are mentioned a lot
Wow.
more than
And
elves, actually.
are they mentioned? Does it describe them? Are they like tall beings or are they
Yeah.
short, stumpy things that we're told?
Man, I can't recollect at the
Yeah,
moment.
right.
I just
That- that-
remember because I was processing so much. I was putting all in my head, and
yeah,
taking
it's
notes and stuff.
exploding out the side.
Um, I have to refresh myself on that one.
Yeah, because that's one of the big things as well is that
Yeah,
is they make everything so cutesy, right? Like the elves now they're these little helpers and stuff that run around
yes.
do good things and
Oh
that. But
my
in
God.
reality, that's what spun me out when I saw Tolkien, like the first Tolkien movie. I'm like, well, and read the book as well. But when you see the movie, it's like they're tall. What? Elves are taller than humans. How does that work?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I've done extensive studies on uh just the history of the elves and the etymology of the word and its relationship to these other gods and angels and beings and stuff like that. Super, super interesting. And it seems that there's different types too, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just like we have different races of humans or whatever, they have different subspecies of elven race too.
Yeah, definitely. I couldn't believe that I'd missed the L. I only like worked that out like a few months ago. I'm like, elves, L. Oh my God, how did I miss that? Right?
Yeah, it's super interesting that the Kolbrin Bible mentions the dwarven race. The Lord of the Rings is really cool too, but I can't. I hope that they do. Like I know people are like, if you read the book, you never really like the movie as much or whatever. But I want them to make a Silmarillion movie.
Silmarillion.
So
Yeah, yeah.
like I've read it gets the book. It gets
Disjointed.
I don't know. It gets a little yeah. It gets kind of boring. I don't know how to describe it. Like
It's
it's cool and everything, but it gets kind of like
because it's not
drawn
an
out in
actual
some places,
finished book though, is it? Like this, I think that was mainly his notes that
No.
he was going to turn into a book, and they've just kind of put it all together to publish.
Yes.
Yeah, so it's not
Yeah.
done,
So check
done
this out. So
correctly.
in the Silmarillion, they had the dwarven race was made first, actually, on Earth. So they were the first official race. They weren't supposed to be though. So one of the little demigods stepped out of orders or whatever, and he decided to go ahead and create the dwarven race. And then the main god was like, what are you doing? Like, they're not supposed to be first. The elves are supposed to be first. And so he basically like put them to sleep under the earth to wait for the time of the elves' arrival so that they could be born after the elves, technically, or whatever.
Yeah,
It's
right.
really interesting.
So what's the origin of the Kolbrin Bible? That obviously not Christian. Where does that come from?
Good question. I have no idea. The rumor is that it, well, about itself, it basically dates itself back to right around the times of the Hebrews from the story of Exodus around that
Okay.
time.
Wow. Okay.
However, um, the first, I guess, official record of it being discussed or talked about with historic records was that it was in a fire around the 1100s, and it survived some sort of a fire because it was stamped into metal,
Oh,
bronze, I think. Yeah, which is
wow.
extremely interesting too, because bronze comes up time and time again on my studies. Segueing into the North Pole. Oh
Yes.
man, like Not bronze, copper. Actually, copper comes up time and time again when I'm doing my research on the geography of the ancient land at the north, you know.
Mm.
But yeah, the books were stamped into bronze, and I mean, what, you know, how, if it's real, if it's authentic or not authentic, it's one of those readings where I got something from it. And a lot of it resonated with me, and a lot of it, it's like if you've just found the actual Bible and you never heard of it before, and you're reading, you're like, wow, like who would fake all this? Like this is a
Yeah.
lot to put down, you know what I mean, and make copies of and stuff like that. Like it's it's compelling,
Mm.
whatever it is, it's compelling, you know what I mean? And
Well,
it's very clear when reading it. It's very to the point. It's very direct, which I appreciate. Uh, I mean, and the crazy thing too is it's got so many different aspects to it. While I was reading it, I was really excited for all of the end of the world cataclysmic stuff happening,
yeah.
But it's got sections in there that are like love story sections about these different people. It talks a lot about ancient races and beings who made these sabbaticals, I guess you could call them, to what I believe is Mount Meru, or to the land at the north, right? It references that all throughout it. Basically, that's the central key for me
Yeah.
of the Kolbrin Bible. When it talks about the history of these people, it talks about their origin, and basically it follows them as they kind of spread out and left that central location. But there's wizards, there's dwarves, there's magicians, there's I mean, it's like the Princess Bride, like
Yeah,
it's
right.
got
Yeah.
fighting, it's got love stories, it's got
But
it's got proverbs, like the proverbs when it's speaking to like a man and woman's heart, like giving them tips on life or whatnot. Wow, like
really
good
good
stuff.
stuff. And see,
Like I
they
totally get the
love to
thumbs
try
up.
and tell us that these are all, oh, it's a fake. And like you said, who would sit down there and write these kind of books and even have the information and the wisdom to be able to do it,
Uh,
right? And then to print it up and everything. And they go, no, no,
yeah,
they're all fake, they're all fake. But this book here,
right,
this
right.
one, this is completely correct. It's not fake. But then we know that it was like it's been, the Council Nice area, it's been like, so edited, but they're like, no, no, this is the truth. Everything else is fake. It's okay.
Right.